Hey guys, welcome to Raw vs SmackDown, where we look at both shows and we review them for the week. This is a new era for both shows, and let's see if this new era can go in the right directions. Before we even get started though, guys, why don't you like, subscribe and press that bell so you can keep notified for all the great content here at Smack Talk Wrestling. Now that's all said and done, let's get straight on with it. Let's hit the music. So we started off Raw with an actual match. That's right, guys, we didn't get a promo. We actually had a match, and it was a Falls Count Anywhere match against Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley, and holy is all I can say. Thank you, Corey Graves, because it seems like we've now gone from the age of PG wrestling to PG-13 wrestling, which is a bigger improvement in my opinion. But what a perfect match this was. For a feud which no one actually cared about, this was the biggest talking point of all of Raw. You had both men going at it, and it just felt perfect. Both men were using super moves after super moves on each other, outside the ring, inside the ring, chasing each other around the arena. And then when we got to the top of the ramp, you had Braun Strowman spear Bobby Lashley into the LCD ramp and went through, and sparks, pyro, we had it all, and you just had both men laying out cold afterwards. This was a fantastic and shocking opening to the show, and they kayfabed it perfectly, stating that both men were injured. They had ambulance crews dragging them away, and it just made the crowd super hyped. They were already hyped for this new beginning with Paul Heyman taking the reins of Raw, but my god, this was an absolutely brilliant opening. So both guys got trailered away to the local hospital, and we kept on getting updates on their medical procedures throughout the night. We also even had the first match starting off with the LCD screens all off and just the music playing, which was a nice little touch. So for me, I am going to go for a 3 out of 5 stars. Fantastic opening to the show, and what a way to kick off the Paul Heyman regime. Next up, we had, for the first time ever, the Viking Raiders versus the New Day. This was Big E and Xavier Woods. To be honest with you guys, I actually really enjoyed this match at the start. It was interesting to see Big E being overpowered by not just one person, but by two individuals, especially with two guys from the Viking Raiders. They really did control Big E. Xavier Woods again selling really well, Big E just being absolutely outpowered, and then by the time it looked like Xavier was going to get the hot tag from Big E, what happens? None other than Samoa Joe gets involved, attacking Xavier Woods, ending the match in DQ. This caused Kofi Kingston to come out and to help his teammates out. Obviously, Viking Raiders are heels right now, and they helped out Samoa Joe. This led to a 6-man tag team match with Kofi and Samoa Joe added to the match. So for the match itself between Xavier Woods and Big E taking on the Viking Raiders, I am going to give it a 1.5 out of 5. I think it was very short, and we could have just started with with Kofi and Samoa Joe just inserted into the match anyway. We just didn't need this build up to it. Then we moved on to the actual match with Kofi Kingston and Samoa Joe added into the tag team match. To be honest, they did add a lot more to it. Kofi Kingston again was the hot tag in this one. Xavier Woods being the main man in the match again, where he was being worked over by all 3 heels in this match. Pretty much, again, Xavier Woods is, for me, every time you have a good tag team match and you need someone who's going to do the selling, really get that emphasis on getting the hot tag, he's the man you want. He really makes it like, oh, he nearly did it, and then he finally does it, that big hot tag happens. Xavier Woods knows how to execute that. For me, he is brilliant. But yeah, he got the hot tag, he got Kofi in, Samoa Joe tagged himself in. It looked like everyone was taking each other out by this point, but like Big E taking out both Viking Raiders, and then Xavier was getting involved as well, and it looked like Kofi was going to join in and do a suicide dive himself before Samoa Joe, who had tagged himself in previously with I don't think anyone realising, hit the cleaner clutch and made Kofi pass out, leaving the match to the Viking Raiders and Samoa Joe for the victory. So for me, because it was a messy start from the start, obviously like I stated, we didn't need that first match to really go into this. We could have just gone straight into this match and I think pit fans would have been happy with it. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had a really funny backstage segment where we had Drake Maverick and his new wife backstage. She was blindfolded, and then she gets up. She goes, where are we on our honeymoon? She takes her blindfold off. She's backstage at Raw. She's absolutely annoyed. She goes, you're obsessed with the 24/7 title. R-Truth walks past him. He's like, really, like, I need to get R-Truth. And she's like, no, you have to choose either me or the title. And he's just like, it's you. And R-Truth he knows Maverick can't do anything. And throughout the night, this is what R-Truth does. He just taunts Drake, and it's brilliant. It's so much fun to watch, and it's a great little back and forth between both Drake Maverick and R-Truth. So I'm not really going to score it until the end of the show. Next up, we had No Way Jose versus Cesaro. I know, a very odd pairing there. I was kind of excited to see how this would go. Would this be just a job or will we actually have a competitive match? We didn't get a competitive match in this one at all. R-Truth was hidden in No Way Jose's conga line. Drake and his wife were watching in the crowd. Obviously R-Truth was just dancing and taunting Drake Maverick at this stage. Obviously everyone else saw it on big screen. The rest of the Raw roster who aren't doing anything came out to chase R-Truth out. Cesaro was not happy with obviously the interruption to his match or anything, so he took out No Way Jose before the match started and hit him with the neutralizer, and that was it. The match didn't even start, so I'm going to give this a 1.5 out of 5, mainly because the R-Truth and Drake Maverick stuff was quite funny, and Cesaro being very impatient as well, really kind of building on his heel persona. Again, I really like No Way Jose. I wish they used him better, but it can't be helped. So for me, like I said, a 1.5 out of 5. Next up, we had the NXT Tag Team Champions. Yes, the Street Profits were backstage at Raw, and they were they just cut a quick promo. Interesting, they weren't called up or anything like that. They were just backstage. They didn't get involved in any matches. They will be involved later on in the show, but again in a backstage segment. But it was very, very interesting. I found it to be quite interesting to see why the tag team champions were there, but it was for me it was great to have them there, so that fans who aren't watching NXT can get a little glimpse of what the NXT tag team champions are like right now. I thought that this is a great way to build up their characters for a bigger audience, and Montez Ford is just so funny, and this is a tag team. If you haven't watched them on NXT, you're worth checking out. So I am going to give it a score out of 2 out of 5, mainly because it's just an introduction to a new team-ish, but I don't think they're getting called up just soon. I think this is just, hey, check out NXT, these are the NXT champions. But very interesting to see that the NXT tag team champions were on Raw that night. Next up, we had a superb promo by Shane O'Mac and Drew McIntyre. This was actually really fantastic. I actually found this one of the better promos we've had from Shane in some time. I think a lot of fans have kind of got to the stage like I have with Shane O'Mac, like, too much Shane. Luckily enough, there wasn't a lot of Shane this week on TV, thank God. But yeah, he did a typical heel promo of him and Drew, where they talked about how Roman must have begged and pleaded for the Undertaker to come and save him. Obviously they called out the dead man, which is always a mistake, because the lights went off. We had a little bit of pyro yet again, which was nice to see, and then the dead man himself came out. Obviously Drew and Shane scampered out of the ring for their own protection, and the dead man cuts probably one, again, a good promo. Undertaker's never been a promo guy. I'm sorry, he's never been the greatest at it. But this was probably one of the better promos I've seen him cut in such a long time. He talks about how Shane is the best in the world, but where he's going to drag him to hell, he will be nothing. This was awesome. It was great. Honestly, this felt like old school Taker, which was nice to see. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Very entertaining, and it was awesome to see Taker actually cut a decent promo for a change. Next up, we have Lacey Evans taking on Natalya. In Lacey's corner, she did have Baron Corbin, who is going to be her mixed tag team partner at Extreme Rules against Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. This was, for me, interesting again, because these two have good chemistry. I've got to say, Lacey and Baron Corbin are decent chemistry. Natalya, for me, is a perfect opponent for Lacey Evans. She's still very much learning on the job. Natalya is such a veteran. Her work ethic and everything she does in the ring is on point. Baron Corbin did get involved in the match as well, distracting Natalya, which cost her the match because pretty much soon after she got distracted by Baron Corbin, Lacey Evans obviously hit her with the women's right to get the pinfall on Natalya. This was pretty much a build-up match for Lacey Evans, getting her more momentum. So for that, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars, mainly because her chemistry with Baron Corbin and Baron Corbin getting involved in the match, which you don't often see men doing, was different, and it was good to see. So like I said, a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up, we probably had one of the best backstage segments I can remember for some time. Gallows and Anderson were pretty much ripping into each other. It was awesome because Anderson made a bet with Gallows about his hot Asian wife, stating that AJ wouldn't be able to beat Ricochet in a rematch. Obviously, AJ took offense to that. Then obviously they wanted to stir the pot some more, so they went to Ricochet, stating that AJ has been saying stuff as well, stating that AJ reckons he could take that title. Obviously Ricochet, being the up-and-comer youngster, states, look, I reckon I can beat AJ. I lost last week, but I reckon if I had another match with him, I definitely would win. Obviously, they took that information to AJ. AJ took offense to that. He got annoyed. He went up to Ricochet, challenged him for the US title that night, and slapped him in the face. Obviously, Ricochet wasn't going to take any of that. He accepted the match and also slapped AJ Styles across the face as well. Really good back and forth on this one. I like Gallows and Anderson stirring the pot, and it was interesting to see this. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. And it really built up their main event of the night for Raw. Next up, we had a rematch from SmackDown Live on Raw. It was The Miz versus Elias in, again, the same match which we had on SmackDown, which was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Now, usually I'm really like, oh, I've already seen this match, I don't really need to see it again, especially when the stipulation's exactly the same. But no, they managed to tweak it up a little bit better this time. Elias didn't have Shane McMahon in his corner this time to help him out. Miz managed to get the first pinfall in a quick skull-crushing finale. Then we got the second pinfall. The second pinfall, again, this was very much 2 quick pinfalls between each other. The Miz trying to get back into the ring after Elias rolled out, rolled it back in. Miz is following him on that one, and then obviously Elias hits the drift away. That's the second pinfall, and it led on to the third and final pinfall. This time it felt like a competitive match by this point between 2 guys who were drawn 1-1 at this point. Miz was in control for quite a bit, then Elias started taking more momentum his way before Elias tried to hit him with the knee, which actually missed the Miz, hit the ring post. The Miz hit the figure 4 submission, which again I thought, oh my god, the Miz never wins with figure 4, so Elias is going to get out of it. We kind of bridged it slightly and it looked like a figure 8, getting the pinfall, getting some more. Finally, the Miz has beaten Elias. I'm kind of glad. This is kind of, the Miz needed a win in my opinion, so I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Good match between 2 guys, better than the match we had on SmackDown Live. Next up, we had a backstage interview where we saw the Universal Champion Seth Rollins and the Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch being interviewed about their Extreme Rules match against Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin. This was quite good because they talked about it. Obviously, it's all Seth's fault slightly because he accepted these matches for him. Good comedy chops between these two. They really got good chemistry. Obviously, they are dating, and WWE really are nailing that on the head about Becky and Seth are dating. But yes, good comedy. Seth said, "I was lucky. I lucked out. You know, I got a good tag team partner. I reckon we can win it's an Extreme Rules match at Extreme Rules, so I think we're gonna be okay." And you know, Becky's like, and Seth's like, "Don't lose my title." And Becky's like, "Don't you lose my title." And that was quite funny. I like the little back and forth. Then they were interrupted by Maria Kanellis. Yeah, bloody hell, 205's Miss Kanellis is on. She states that she's sick and tired of hearing Seth and Becky being stated as the it couple at WWE, while her and her husband had been killing it on 205. They challenged them to a match. Seth and Becky accept. Good chemistry between all four people in this interview. Mike doesn't say much. It's most Maria. I like that Maria says, "Your bitch versus my bitch." Again, nice references here. We're getting past the PG segments now. And I liked it. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. And it led on to the next match of the night. The next match of the night, like I stated, was Seth and Becky versus Mike and Maria Morales. This was interesting. Mike tried his best, but Seth was very much in control of this match. Then Becky tagged in. Maria couldn't get involved in the match, and we found out why. She was screaming. She was telling Becky, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." Announcing she's pregnant. That's right. Maria is actually pregnant. So she couldn't compete. So Becky gets back in the ring. She puts the arm lock onto Mike and disarmer on to Mike, and she gets the pin. She gets the submission win for her and Seth. I thought the rule said a woman or a man could not attack either gender. Interesting that's I thought a man could only attack a man and a woman could only attack a woman, but apparently not. Apparently a woman can attack a man, but a man can't attack a woman in the matches. I don't really know, but yes, Maria wasn't happy. She was so angry, and it came to this brilliant promo from Maria stating, "How are you a man? You know, Becky Lynch. Next time I want to get pregnant, I'm just gonna ask the man herself, Becky Lynch." I was like, oh wow. She really cut into her husband. She cut into her husband a few times during the match as well, but really cutting deep in this one. So for me, I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. The match itself was nothing, but the bits with Maria and Mike, very entertaining. Next up, we have Paul Heyman, yes, the new executive director of Raw, but he was playing Paul Heyman, the advocate of Brock Lesnar. This was interesting. Paul was stating that Brock Lesnar could be in the building. He was quickly interrupted by the Street Profits, where they were taking the mick out of Paul. Paul just didn't have time, and he goes, "I'm going this way," and then walks away. And like the crowd were just super hyped when they saw Paul Heyman. But it's interesting. Obviously we know that Paul's running Raw now, but it's interesting to see that he completely ignored that he is running it and that he is the advocate of Brock Lesnar. So for me, I really enjoyed it, but I can't really give it a score because it was more of there was nothing really to it. There was no substance. I think it was just to get Paul Heyman onto a camera at the time. So yeah, I can't score it. Next up, we had A Moment of Bliss. This week's guest was none other than Nikki Cross. So the BFS were, having a moment to themselves, I guess. This was quite good. Nikki gets such a good fan reaction when she came out. She's so over. The interview was quickly interrupted by Carmella, where she's asking why Alexa got the title match over Nikki, which again makes sense. I think it's a big question a lot of the fans are asking, because obviously Nikki's been the more dominant out of the two, but yet Alexa is getting title shots. Alexa is not happy with this at all, leading to Carmella challenging for a match against Nikki. And this led to the match itself. Nikki and Carmella had a good little decent match. Nikki goes crazy from the start to finish. She hits the crossroads on Carmella to get the victory. Obviously, you got Alexa Bliss mocking Carmella after the match as well. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. I think with the Moment of Bliss and Carmella coming out, and again a big victory for Nikki Cross again this week over a former SmackDown Women's Champion in Carmella. All round, I thought this was a great little segment. Next up, we had a title change on Raw. That's right. Drake Maverick and his wife were about to leave. She needed to go to the bathroom. All the Raw superstars ran past. Drake obviously chasing after R-Truth. R-Truth turns around the corner. R-Truth's like, he goes, don't worry, Truth. I'm going on my honeymoon. I just need to get out of here. And Truth goes, bye, buddy. You know, he actually calls him Maverick. So he definitely knows who his name is. He doesn't. Then obviously he turned his back. Wrong mistake. Hardcore match apparently. So Drake Maverick hits him with his own suitcase, pins him, takes the 24/7 title, and he runs off with his wife as the new 24/7 champion. I really like this segment. It's been building up brilliant all the way through the night with R-Truth mocking Maverick. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. And last but not least, it was the main event of Raw this week, which was super main. For me, this was an amazing main event. Ricochet versus AJ Styles, this time for the United States Championship. Last week's match was phenomenal. This match was, I think, the match itself, in perspective, was slightly less than what we got, but it was still very good, still high standards for a TV match in my opinion. AJ starting off aggressive at the start, great high flying moves from Ricochet as you expect. AJ hitting the elbow on Ricochet, pinning him, but Ricochet's leg was underneath the rope, so the referee didn't see it. Referee awards AJ the US title. Obviously AJ celebrating becoming the new United States Champion. Another official comes out, he explains the situation. Interesting this, interesting writing here from WWE. The referee reverts it, restarts the match. This is after a commercial break. By that point, when we come back on the commercial break, we had Gallows and Anderson ringside watching on. Obviously after AJ won the title, they must have come out to celebrate with him, and then it was overturned, and then the match itself restarted. Ricochet starting off the match really well. Again, AJ pulling off moves you don't often get to see him do, so he was definitely pulling stuff out of the bag you don't get to see him do that often. Ricochet gets an inside cradle onto AJ, and my god, he wins the US title. Technically back, I don't know, it's hard to say, but I think retains, let's say retain. Ricochet retains the United States Championship off AJ Styles. It looks like Ricochet and AJ are about to shake hands. You have Gallows and Anderson on the side of the ring mocking AJ. AJ finally snaps. The club get involved after AJ tells them to get in to the ring. We have the reformation of the club, and we have the heel turn of AJ Styles, which needed to happen. Raw needed a heel. It needed a top heel. Baron Corbin's been the top heel on Raw for too long, and let's be honest, you need someone like AJ Styles who has character, who fans do like, but will play a fantastic heel altogether. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. Great turn, great storytelling, great match. This now moves us on to SmackDown Live for this week, where we did get a recap of what happened to Raw. I wasn't very happy with this. First, it's the first SmackDown of the Eric Bischoff regime, and the first thing they do is mention Raw. Again, I understand it was a big event, but it was the Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman event. But SmackDown should be its own show. Raw should be its own show. You don't mention each other's shows, but they did throughout the night on Raw and SmackDown. But this really annoyed me because it was the first thing they did on SmackDown Live. So Tom Phillips going on about what happened to Bobby Lashley. We got a Bobby Lashley in the hospital, which was quite interesting. He called Braun Strowman a bitch, which was awesome. Again, PG-13 more like. But the video package was the only thing which was good. Again, they should have saved it for Raw the previous night, next week. So for me, I'm only going to give it a 1 out of 5 stars. It really annoyed me that they mentioned Raw before anything happened on SmackDown Live. Next up, we had the KO show with special guest Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. They were there to talk about their upcoming tag team match against Roman Reigns and the Undertaker. I really enjoyed this promo, to be honest with you, but all three guys were entertaining. KO going, "I'm the best in the world," Shane McMahon, and it's like Shane just not happy with it, getting the proper "the best in the world" intro. That was awesome, and again entertaining. Then KO really kind of turning babyface slightly in this one, where he wasn't interested, and he got threatened to read the cards by Drew and by Shane, because he was just like, "I'm reading the cards." Talk about how he got beaten by the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Drew and Shane weren't happy with this. Then Dolph Ziggler interrupts. This was great. The back and forth between Dolph Ziggler and KO was very interesting. KO kills Dolph with just the promo, because Dolph's talking about KO eating hot dogs or something, and if I was a hot dog eating contest, I would win, and that's more than what you can say about your wrestling matches of late. Brilliant by KO, just a great comeback. Shane McMahon makes the decision to put Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler into the main event of the night for SmackDown. They will have to beat Heavy Machinery. If they do beat Heavy Machinery, they'll be inserted into the SmackDown tag team match, which is so far Daniel Bryan and Rollins defending their titles against Big E and Xavier Woods. So that will be, I thought, brilliant opening to the show with the KO show. KO not giving a damn and absolutely killing Dolph Ziggler with that one sentence, with that one line. So for me, brilliant. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we had Big E versus Daniel Bryan. We did have Rollins and Xavier Woods on ringside watching on. For me, this was interesting. Xavier Woods and Rollins, just, you knew something was going to happen to cost the match, and it really did. Big E was in control for a large portion of the match until Rollins finally got involved. He took out Big E, pushing him into the ring post. Xavier's tried to help him, but the referee was distracted at this point, making sure Daniel Bryan was alright. Xavier was trying to help. Xavier was got taken out by Rollins. Big E got rolled back into the ring. Daniel Bryan hit the running knee, and Daniel Bryan and Rollins got the victory over Big E. Again, it's a good singles match. The heels needed a victory over the baby faces because they have lost twice now to them. So it made sense that Daniel Bryan would get the victory over this one. But yeah, it's interesting to see Big E very much in control from the start. But it'd be interesting to see where their tag team match Extreme Rules goes. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Good, smart booking decision, but it was very short in the match itself. Next up, we had a R-Truth backstage interview. He was talking about the 24/7 championship, how Maverick has taken it to his honeymoon, and then R-Truth completely lost the plot and started talking about his honeymoon, that he never went to his honeymoon, and then he didn't even think he had a honeymoon. So it was funny. It was so funny. R-Truth just going off on a tangent, something about the 24/7 European Television Championship, telling him that Hogswoggle he needs to watch it. I was just, again, R-Truth's crazy. R-Truth is so crazy, but he's very entertaining for this 24/7 title, and it's great to see Drake Maverick having the title for a little bit as well, because these two guys just chasing each other for it is entertaining. So for me, I'm going to give the interview a 2 out of 5 stars. There wasn't very much to it, but it was entertaining at the best. Next up, we had Nikki Cross hosting A Moment of Bliss. Yeah, we had a little bit of a backstage bit where Alexa said, "I want you, Nikki, to host this special episode of Moment of Bliss on SmackDown." So she did. She hosted it, and her guest was none other than the SmackDown Women's Champion, Bayley. And again, this was interesting. Nikki's there talking about how Moment of Bliss is here to ask the hard questions, and she's stating why is Bayley just, saying that Alexa Bliss is a liar. And then Bayley goes, because she is. And then Bayley asked Nikki a question, and she went, why are you beat me last week, you beat Carmella on Raw last night, why are you not going for a title shot? And you can see it in Nikki's face, like she's really confused. She gets really annoyed with the question, and then she challenges Bayley to a match. Bayley accepts, of course, and both women have a good little match as well. Bayley starts off the strongest at the start. Nikki starts getting more fired up. Again, you get to see a lot more of the crazy Nikki Cross fighting style, which I do enjoy. Before Bayley finally hits Nikki Cross with a Bayley to belly suplex to win the match. I'm going to give this whole segment, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. I think both women did a fantastic job. I think their interviews beforehand was great. And again, when Bayley asked the question why you're not challenging for the title, the fans went crazy for it. So again, really good for both women, and I want to see Nikki Cross in this title shot at some point. Next up, we had Samoa Joe and Kofi Kingston. They were cutting an interview in the ring. Samoa Joe tells the interviewer she needs to leave. I think it was Charlie. Tells her she needs to get out for her home protection. Kofi and Samoa Joe are just so good at promos. Samoa Joe offers his hand to Kofi Kingston after a lengthy promo stating, Kofi, you used the New Day, you've used Xavier Woods, you used Big E to get where you are, and I like it. I know it, and Kofi's like, it's not like that. I'm a team. I've always worked as a team, and I've just taken my opportunities. Once I've had an opportunity given to me, I've tried to take it. Samoa Joe obviously playing at, what other heels are thinking. Kofi's used the New Day to get where he is. Samoa Joe offers his hand out to Kofi Kingston, giving him this offer: if you shake my hand now, today, then I won't attack your family, won't attack your friends, I'll leave everything to Extreme Rules. Obviously Kofi doesn't. He goes all Stone Cold Steve Austin, middle finger, then trouble in paradise. My god, that was awesome. Samoa Joe's out cold, Kofi's holding the title. It just looks freaking awesome. Really impressed with both guys' promos. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we had Apollo versus Andrade. This was a match which apparently was supposed to happen months ago. Never really happened after Andrade attacked Apollo before the match. Apollo's been trying to get a rematch with Andrade for some time. The match itself was interesting, mainly because you had Zelina Vega get involved so quickly into this match, distracting Apollo. Andrade took advantage of that, and then when Apollo started getting momentum back onto his side, you had Zelina Vega hit him with a running Hurricane. He goes down. Andrade hits him with the hammer DDT to get the victory. Again, this was a very short match, but the chemistry between two guys was there. You definitely see it with Apollo and Andrade. If this is going to be Andrade's next feud, I wouldn't mind. I want to see these guys actually have proper matches though. Zelina Vega getting involved quite early is, that's what she's there at, and she's very good at doing. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had Aleister Black cut another promo. This is an Aleister Black who's excited. He's ready. Last week we saw that there was a knock on the door. We have a challenger. We didn't get any information on who the challenger is, but Aleister Black stated this. He's excited. He's ready for this fight. The madness has kind of died down. He knows he's got an opponent, and he's ready to take it on. He states that at Extreme Rules, he will have his opponent. Very exciting. No indication who it is. For me, I think it could be Randy Orton. Randy Orton versus Aleister Black would be a fantastic match to see. But very good promo yet again from Aleister Black. excited to see where this leads on. So I want to see who the opponent is. That's the exciting bit. Just have that mystery is quite fun. Next up we had Ember Moon versus Mandy Rose. This was a much better match than what we got last week with Ember Moon versus Sonya Deville, but this was a lot better. Not great, but better. Sonya did try to get involved in the match. Obviously she was watching ringside for her friend Mandy, but Ember didn't get distracted, thank God. Ember controlled the match completely. She did hit the Eclipse after Mandy missed with a... She completely botched a few times, did Mandy, in this match. But yes, Ember hit the Eclipse on Mandy Rose, getting the victory. Finally, the babyface doesn't seem like an idiot, like she has been doing in the matches with Sonya Deville. So for me, I'm giving her 2 out of 5 stars. Ember needed a victory on SmackDown Live. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, again, I just don't understand why creative are really pushing them, but yeah, it was a much needed victory for Ember. Next up, I'm not really going to score this, but I just want to know what the hell's going on with Shelton Benjamin. We had Benjamin ask the question who's going to win against Samoa Joe and Kofi Kingston at Extreme Rules, and he started doing this weird thing with his eyes, like looking around. I was like, what the hell is going on with Shelton Benjamin? Can anyone explain this to me? Does anyone know? I just didn't know. We're getting crazy Shelton Benjamin. Okay, I'm guessing that's happening. But yes, I'm not scoring this. But it was interesting. At least we're getting Shelton Benjamin on SmackDown. At least we're seeing him in some way on SmackDown. And last but not least for SmackDown Live this week, it was Heavy Machinery versus Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler. Like I stated, the winner of this match will be inserted into the SmackDown Tag Team title match at Extreme Rules. Interesting. If you had New Day and Daniel Bryan and Rollins watching on the sides, the match really didn't get started for some time. KO and Dolph took some time to get into gear. I thought, oh, we might see a, maybe a kind of Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle situation where they don't like each other, they're rivals, and they become tag team champions, and then they implode on each other, and that rivalry continues. But no, we didn't get that. We had Daniel Bryan and Rollins jumping on New Day jumped on them first, and then obviously Rollins and Daniel took advantage, just beat the crap out of them. Then we came back from a commercial break, and then the match actually restarted. But Heavy Machinery, again, they are a good team. It looked like KO and Dolph were going to win it before an accidental super kick by Dolph onto Kevin Owens, costing them the match. Heavy Machinery hit KO with the compactor, and they get inserted into Extreme Rules. Is this the right choice? Yeah, I think it is. Heavy Machinery did have a good match last time out against Rollins and Daniel, so it makes sense that they get another opportunity at the tag team titles. And then after the match, after everything happened, KO gets back up. He hits Dolph with the stunner, and babyface KO. I think we might have seen a Kevin Owens turn babyface on this one. I'm not sure, but I think he has. But yeah, he hit Dolph with the stunner after the match, because obviously Dolph, I'm not sure if Dolph meant to hit him, but they were bickering, and yeah, KO turned. Everyone cheered as hell when Kevin Owens, I mean, he walks off. He says, "This is my show, hit my music," and they hit his music. So yeah, I'm going to give us a 2.5 out of 5. It was a good, entertaining main event for SmackDown. Now let's see who won for this week. Now this was really, I thought this was a good start for both shows. I think both shows were a lot more entertaining than they have been. I think they've definitely, the Paul Heyman, Eric Bischoff effects have started off slightly well. But I'm going to give I think with Raw having AJ turn heel in the main event, the Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman opening as well, a strong opening and a strong ending from Raw. I'm going to give Raw a 2.5 for this week. SmackDown, you had the mention of Raw straight away. You had a very strong KO show. I mean, a decent main event. Like I said, it was a good main event for SmackDown. But I think Raw just edges it. So I'm gonna give, like I said, Raw 2.5. I'm gonna give SmackDown a 2 out of 5 stars. So our winners again for this week is Raw. But what was your favourite part of Raw or SmackDown, guys? Leave it in the comments below. Do you think the Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman effect has got, started off really well? Also leave that in the comments. If you do like our videos here, please like, subscribe, press that bell to keep notified. If you want to follow us on the old Twitter, it's at SmackTalkYouTube. That's a U and a tube. And if you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boyze88. And I will see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.